This video, we're going to be covering what is the top 5 fastest TTK assault rifles that are currently inside the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer at the moment. This is going to include the Modern Warfare 2 guns, as well as the Modern Warfare 3 weapons, and we're going to go over what are the best. Now, I do want to give a quick shout out to the True Game Data website, because this is where we got all the data from for these TTK values. And I do want to point out a couple of things whilst we're on here. So when it comes to specific weapons now, mainly the Modern Warfare 2 weapons, which is actually quite interesting, the damage values on the actual body of the character or your opponent model is going to be slightly different. So for example, right here, pretty much all of these damage values are exactly the same, and that is for the chest, the arms, the lower torso, and then the legs as well. And the same kind of goes for the TAQ-56 as well. So this is another Modern Warfare 2 weapon, so keep that in mind. So again, the damage values are very consistent with these guns. I don't really know why they've done this. I don't know if it's on purpose or it's just an easier way for them to balance the weapon. Because when you look at a gun like, for example, a newer weapon like the MCW, you can see that the chest values as well as the arm values actually are identical, and then we've got the lower body shots here as well. Now, something I do want to point out across the board for every single Modern Warfare 3 weapon, the chest and arms pretty much do the exact same damage, so getting a chest TTK in this game is very easy. So now we have the actual numbers here, which is the TTK spreadsheet for chest shots only. If you want a mixed shot location calculator, you could check out the True Game Data website. I'll leave it linked down below. But for chest shots only, which is a very likely TTK for you to get now, especially with them including arms into the mix, this is basically going to be more or less the kind of TTKs you should expect in game if you are aiming for the body, which most people do. So basically what we have here is TTK range 1 and range 2. For the most part, on average, most assault rifles drop off around 18 to 20 meters. So for TTK range 1, we will organize from the fastest killing to then the slowest. And the top couple of weapons here are the KASTOV-762, the Geist, the M13B, the Razorback, the MWIII, which is the only Modern Warfare 3 weapon that is at kind of near the top of this list. And then you've got the ISO Hemlock as well. So these are the ones that you want to be focusing on for that range 1. Now, if you do then find yourself in range 2, then we're going to organize this for the fastest killing here as well. And as you can see, the MTZ is also at the top of this list as well, so in the higher end of the weapons when it comes to fast TTKs in those closer ranges. So as you can see, the MTZ is number 1. Then we've got the Holger, which is again is a Modern Warfare 3 weapon, the DG58, which is the burst fire weapon, the M13C, the FR Avancer, and then the MCW. So if we're looking at that second range, then these are going to be the top 6 weapons. Now, this is not everything we need to know, so obviously we know which ones kill the fastest in each of those ranges, but we also need to know how these guns actually handle, because if you're not actually landing your shots, then you won't even be getting these TTK values that you see on screen. So what we did now is we went in and actually tested the recoil for all these weapons to see if there was any slight changes. These are the base weapons, so you can put attachments on them, make them a little bit better, but this is for the range 1 weapon. So this is the guns that had the fastest TTK in that first damage range, and these recoil charts were taken at a 10 meter distance, and the screenshots were taken at about 5 meters away from the wall that we tested it on. So as you can see, we've got the KASTOV-762, which is in yellow here, the TR-76 Geist, M13B, Razorback, MTZ-556, and the Hemlock. Now, in terms of all these weapons here, the ones that kind of stand out the most in terms of best recoil control are going to be the KASTOV-762, which does handle relatively well, especially if you do stack some attachments on it. The M13B is also really, really good as well, and this is kind of the base weapon of this, is very easy to manage. The Razorback is also pretty easy to manage for the most part, again, if you put some attachments on there. Hemlock is super easy to control. It's probably one of the easiest guns to control, even at range, and you should know this from Modern Warfare 2 or even Warzone if you've used it in that. So this gun is super easy to use, and not only to mention it's got one of the fastest TTKs in that first damage range, which is obviously going to be very, very useful. And then the MTZ doesn't have the easiest recoil to control, but the fact that it shows up in the first TTK range and also the second, you kind of have to put it into the mix here, because it is going to be one of the best, most consistent weapons to use in both of those ranges. Next up, we've got the range 2 weapon. So this is if you're playing maybe some of the more longer range maps, or if you just want to have a gun that can perform better at a longer distance, then this is going to be some of the better options. So I've put the MTZ-556 back on the list here because it also does show up in terms of TTK. but also I wanted to show you the recoil comparison to the other weapons. Now, the Holger does have a very easy recoil pattern to manage. I do want to point this out. It's actually a very easy gun to control. The DG58, again, is a very easy gun to control. And if you do like burst weapons, this is the best one in the game. And we've not really had a good burst weapon in a while, so this is definitely a solid choice, and the TTKs are actually pretty insane on this gun as well. The M13C, I can't really recommend it, even though TTKs are good at this range. The recoil itself is not great. Now, obviously, you can improve this with attachments, but for the most part, it's not the best gun. The FR Avancer, again, recoil-wise, is not the best, even though TTKs are pretty decent. But you'd rather go for something like the MCW, where you're going to get very consistent recoil patterns here. So, for example, I do think the MCW and the Holger do have the better recoil patterns to manage. So we're going to quickly run through what are the actual top 5 guns for TTK now, and I'm not going to go over any builds or anything because there's probably tons of videos already on YouTube with builds for each one of these guns, and especially since most of them are Modern Warfare 2 guns anyway. So we're starting off with the MTZ-556. So this is shown up on both the TTK Range 1 and Range 2. The recoil is probably not the best, so I'm not going to say it's the best gun for the close range TTKs, but for the most part, it will be an overall solid choice if you do build it correctly for recoil control. The next one is the M13B. Now, this is a solid gun, very easy to use, very easy to control. Even without any attachments, the recoil is very easy to manage. Not only that, it's got one of the fastest TTKs at close range, so it's pretty much a no-brainer choice, and you've probably already got it leveled up and maxed out anyway. Next is the ISO Hemlock, similarly to the M13B, very easy to use, very easy to manage. You probably already have it maxed out, and it's got one of the best close range TTKs in the game, so overall, again, another really solid choice. Next up, we've got the DG58, very easy to use, and for multiplayer, it's an absolute beast. It's basically like a 2-tap, and it absolutely destroys. A really, really good choice. And also, you do want a bit of variety as well, not fully automatic weapons all the time. So this is definitely one of the better burst fire weapons that have came out of multiplayer for COD in a while, to be honest. Not to mention that the first range TTK and the second range TTK are both very good on this gun. It's actually a very consistent weapon to use, so that is why this makes the list. And last but not least, it probably comes as no surprise that the MCW also makes this list as well. It's a very easy to use weapon, but not only that, it's got one of the best TTKs for assault rifles in this game, so obviously it's going to be a good choice. So there we have it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.